give the responsibility of your teenagers who spend on average 4 to 5 hours per day on the social networks. You give the responsibility of the content they are exposed to US private providers or big Chinese companies. And they design the content, they are in charge of the algorithm, with the SA and our regulation, but still being implemented. So when we speak about cyberbullying, when we speak about being exposed to pornography, when we speak about having some mental disease, I mean, let's be clear. This is exactly made by these platforms to your children. And we decided de facto to give them this exclusivity. So this is why, if we want to speak about sovereignty, we have to protect much more our children vis-à-vis all these contents on all these platforms. And the agenda of children and teenagers protection is a necessity for their mental health, for the sustainability of our education system. Second, if we want to protect our democracies and preserve the well-functioning of our democracies, let's regulate as well the content of this platform. Let's be much more demanding. Because, please, don't believe 1 second on the so-called free speech agenda. For me, we don't speak about free speech when the algorithm is hidden and in the hands of very few players, and when they don't implement the laws decided by the citizens of a country. This is the Wild West, not the free speech. So let's be clear. If we want as well digital sovereignty, we will have to better protect our children, our teenagers, and our democratic space.
Мамко ж моя, не лай мені, мамко ж моя, не лай мені. Ей, залаєш ми в злу годину, залаєш ми в злу годину. Сам не знаю, де погину, сам не знаю, де погину. Ей, погину я в чужім краю, погину я в чужім краю. Хто ж ми буде брати яму? Хто ж ми буде брати яму? Ей, виберуть ми чужі люди, виберуть ми чужі люди.
Wow. 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 That was incredible, incredibly moving. Everybody to RadPod and Not So Chill. My name is Heidi Kuda, and I'm here with my friends Jim Stewartson and High Fidelity. And 4 years ago, about this time, we launched this show because we were very concerned at the number of people being radicalized in what is really by many an invisible war. We see it very clearly. We see in it, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight with our incredible guest, a Ukrainian historian. But yeah, we are on the eve of the Holodomor Remembrance Day, November 22nd, and we're going to be talking about that as well. And that music, I believe, is about that, right, Hi-Fi?
That's actually that is a song
Beautiful.
called that's a song called Plivekacha, and that is a song that is sung in Ukraine in remembrance of the people who have died in the Maidan, which occurred because of Russia installing Yanukovych, and also in the war that Putin waged on them, starting with the invasion of Crimea.
It's really, really beautiful. And so what we learned from our historian is that this is part of a century-old game, not a nice game. And I think that we're going to talk about this too. Her name is Tetiana, talks about how because the Russians ended up on the side of democracy and the Allies in World War II, it actually allowed them to whitewash so many of their crimes, and that continues to happen till this day. And that is, again, we learned so many remarkable things in episode 154. We did an hour and a half interview with her, and I invite everybody to listen to that. But boy, oh boy, do we have a banging show with her highlights. Jim, I don't even know where to start. I mean, every week, it's like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God. I don't even know where to start. It's just gnarly out there, man.
Yeah, I've been, you know, none of this is surprising or any of that, right? We've been talking about it for a long time. And so my sort of brain these days has been in, science, honestly. What is it that's, causing us to kind of implode like this, right? How did we allow this to happen? And it's taken me to some pretty crazy places. But one thing that I've discovered, and I don't mean this metaphorically or poetically, but empathy and love and connection with human beings is the target of our enemies. Let's just be plain about it. For very mathematical and easy to understand reasons. Love and empathy, they are called positive emotions, right? For a reason. That's math. Hate, fear, those are negative emotions. Math, right? Why are they called positive and negative? Because positive emotions literally add to your connections, right? If you love somebody, you now are connected with that person. You've added what? Complexity. You've added complexity to a system. And when a fascist, when Elon Musk says empathy is suicidal, when we see all of this, terror and violence that is designed to make us hate one another, to fear the government, to fear everything, that's math. What that does is reduces connections. Now, in a complicated system, when you reduce the number of connections, what happens to it? It either explodes into gas, right? Or it collapses. And it is literally that math of reducing empathy, reducing love, reducing our connection, which collapses society and collapses government, right? I was just listening to the Secretary of Education talking about the hard reset we're going to do on the education system, meaning get rid of the Department of Education. Now, the Department of Education is not a perfect thing, but I want to give just briefly an analogy. What is a tree? A tree is an amazing thing because a leaf at one side and a root way down at the bottom are connected to each other. These are molecules that have nothing to do with each other, right? But they're working together inside of a big system, right? Now, what happens to this tree if you take away sunlight or take away water? It's still there. You still have the leaves on it. You still have the branches. But what is it now? That leaf has no connection to what's going on underground. And that's why you can light a match and set it on fire. Because all of that complexity, all of that beauty, all of that beautiful chaos is technically what it is. It came out of that tree is now dead complexity. It's fuel. That's all it is. It has no more integrative property. And so there is a very, very sort of fundamental kind of mathematical underlying strategy to everything that they're doing. What it does is it dries up connection. It makes everything suddenly, instead of a living tree, now it's just fuel, right? So you can think of what, this regime that's been going on for now 10 years is the second wave of it, right? The giant hair dryer. It just sucking up all of the caring and the love, right? What do you hear when you hear Donald Trump? It's just about hate. It's just about taking away connection and emotion and reducing it to a simple idea, right? White men are the king of the house, and we're going, like just this ridiculous, nonsensical version of reality that never existed in the first place. But what is it? It's very simple. So the way that this works is it introduced chaos into a system. Chaos wants order, right? So you can have a complicated chaos, like a stellar nursery, right? Where there's lots of forces and you create new things, right? And all systems, whether it's a galaxy or whatever, needs that rebirth. It needs that constant motion. And what America failed to do, this is the positive part, and then I'll shut up. What democracy failed to do was to reanimate that chaos, that beautiful chaos, the good version of chaos. Not all chaos is bad, right? Chaos is where, if you look at a tree, it's fractal. There's a reason for that. There's a fundamental reason, because chaos, when it's properly constrained, creates a system. It creates a system like a tree or a galaxy or a pluralistic democracy. And so part of the reason why people like Mamdani and Newsom and people like this are effective is because they introduce good chaos into the system. It's what John Lewis called good trouble, right? Democracy does not survive statically. It does not survive by going back to the establishment. It does not survive by pretending we are where we used to be. It survives by saying, okay, you motherfuckers, you came and created a bunch of chaos, and what you want is for us to be scared and shrink into your universe. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to bloom out. The way that a system comes to equilibrium is not to shrink back into its hidey hole. It's to keep expanding. And so part of what I've been wrestling with is how to, kind of write this down in a way that doesn't sound all sort of geeky and whatnot. But this idea, this basic, idea of taking a complex system and shrinking it down and collapsing it, that's what we're in the middle of right now. The good news is it's not really working at a fundamental level. And so we could talk more about that. But anyway, that's just
I look forward to talking more about it. And thank
that's
you.
what I've been thinking about.
No, it's great. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I'm learning so much from you going down these rabbit holes and trying to explain it to people. Back to the opening, I am following Macron closely because he is the world leader we need stepping up and admitting about, that this is an information war, admitting that that Russia is targeting, global democracies and at war with everybody, and admitting that we can't just keep going on leaving these platforms owned by billionaires to target the citizens of democratic nations without absolutely any oversight whatsoever. So I'm very grateful. He has been talking straightforward for months now, really ramping it up in recent weeks, and it's what we had begged Joe Biden to do during his administration. We wrote a sample speech. We ended up making it an open letter, and that never happened. And what I'm so excited about with the interview that we did with the Ukrainian historian that we're going to feature on this episode is she basically explained that Russia is using everything as a war: politics, history, sports, entertainment, films, books. Like there is nothing that they're not infiltrating. And when you hear a historian who not only understands what happened in the 1920s and 1930s in Russia, but she also has been reading internal documents written by the political technologists and the ideologues that realize that information warfare and hybrid warfare is what they were going to take to remove people's own consciousness. And so she took a long view of what's happening in the past and then matched it to what's happening now and the new techniques that they're using. And her work is just incredible. And I'm so grateful that we had this interview, and I'm doing a series of interviews. Yes, big finger. What's going on? What's going on, High Fidelity?
Shout out to the Italian Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, right.
He is the first politician I've heard, well, aside from Gabrielius Landesbergers.
Yeah.
But look, it's war. Hello.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is difficult. Politicians are saying it. Our politicians won't say it. I mean, the Democrats should say it. We had, like you said, we asked Biden to say it. He didn't say it.
No.
When is it going to sink in? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if it hasn't sunk in
You're
yet.
muted, Jim.
Boomer.
Yeah, you muted me, asshole.
2 boomers. 3 if you.
Not 2 boomers. I was on mute. I was fine. This guy muted me and then yelled at me for being muted. Anyway, look, Biden was a mistake. I'm just gonna say it. The more I sort of understand what how this works, he's a good man, but what he tried to do was stabilize a system that was collapsing, right? And we fought this, tooth and nail. But you can't just freeze collapse. It doesn't work that way, right? It's not, what he tried to do is like, oh shit, and just, keep it where it was. And it doesn't work that way. You have to expand it. You have to go beyond where you were. You have to constrain the system by the rules that exist. And so we made two mistakes. We allowed a wild perturbation in the system, January 6th, to go without any constraint, right? Number fucking one. Number two, the message to the point about, what happened? Where are we going? What the fuck is going on? There was no advancement of that understanding or agenda in society at all. We never actually addressed how the fuck did this happen? Why, literally, why were all of these people attacking the United States Capitol at the same time? We never, ever got to those answers over 4 fucking years. And the reason for that, I'm afraid, and Sarah Kendzior nailed this. She said this guy is an interim step, and it was correct. We swung just a little bit back, and then smashed right through it. And that's where we are right now. Is on the other side of that. And so, from a society and a solutions perspective, there's a couple of good things. First of all, these systems always come back. The question is, what is going to come back to? And this is where the real danger lies. Because I have every confidence that the system is going to return, and we're not going to have a fucking crazy man. But on the other side, and sort of waiting for the pendulum, is Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and Palantir and fucking Grok and so let me I don't give out stock advice, but the stock market is a disaster waiting to happen. It is a huge fucking bubble, and it's a deliberate one, and it's composed of the tech companies, but specifically around AI and Tesla and Palantir. These companies are now worth $6 trillion fucking dollars or something like that. A huge percentage of gross domestic product, based on Tesla right now is $1.5 trillion company, and it has the same revenue and the same business model as Toyota. Toyota is a $50 billion company. Think it is 30. It is a bubble that's 30 times larger than it should be, and it all fits around one dude's fucking head, right? And on the other side, you kind of next to that, you have Palantir, which is now a $500 billion company. Palantir, the company that was going after Glenn Greenwald and WikiLeaks not fucking 12 years ago. That same company is now worth $500 billion. And
anonymous.
It's the only, yes, well, and Anonymous paid the price for that shit too, hard. But it makes absolutely zero sense unless you think that Palantir is literally going to be the operating system for the government, for corporate America, for law enforcement, for fucking everything. It is priced as if that were already true. Tesla is priced as if there were millions of these fucking robots that he thinks, these C-3POs that he thinks that everybody is going to own. You've heard this shit. Optimus is going to be the biggest it's going to solve poverty. It's going to make everybody rich. fucking robots. And so the market right now is pricing all of this shit as if that were true. And so you see Elon Musk, the Saudi guy, and fucking Tim Cook is there, and Jensen Huang is talking about why Nvidia is worth $5 fucking trillion. It's all air. It's science fucking fiction. And that bubble, that is the bubble that people need to worry about. But frankly, there are two possibilities. It's really very binary. Either that thing just dies in a giant explosion, or we turn into the Borg. So one of those things is true. So you can place your bets on the Borg future or not. But if not, I'm just warning you that the financial markets are deliberately being set up for a very big fall.
Yeah, do you remember our very first episode?
There's fingers.
Crypto.
The fingers are going. I actually have two fingers up because I need to make 2 points.
Whoa, shit!
Two. All right. The first point, and I don't want to have any really comment about this. I'm just going to say this. I think ultimately, when a forensic audit is properly done of 2007, 2008, and what happened with Bear Stearns, you're going to find Jeffrey Epstein in the mix. Hard. Anyway, the next point I want to make is if you want to know what Jim's talking about when it comes to a bubble, here's your barometer. Okay. Your barometer when it comes to the valuation of NVIDIA and things like that is, of course,
oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
That's right. Because Peter Thiel dumped all his NVIDIA stock and he dumped a bunch of other stock and he's busting out the market. Now, here's my theories behind this. One, he knows it's a bubble. He knows it's going to collapse. He's cashing out. What do we know about Peter Thiel? Peter Thiel likes to cut and run because he likes to have plausible deniability. Case in point being him leaving the board of Facebook, right?
He also did the same thing with a crypto thing that he was doing where he was touting it one day and selling it the next day. And so this is
the pump and dump, right?
Doing that with Bitcoin all the way up and down.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got
How long have we been talking about this?
4 years.
Anyway, that whole thing is, I don't know how we're going to unwind this fucking thing.
All I know is
it's going to be ugly.
When you talk about it sounding like science fiction, this sounds exactly like the plot of Alphaville. Like, it's so dystopian. But yeah, the more you talk about it, Jim, the more I always hear the echoes of Nancy McLean, that regimes like this can collapse under the weight of their own corruption. And how are you feeling this week about Trump's vulnerability, his Achilles heel, his ties to the pedo wrangler? What are you guys seeing? Because I just don't think I think it's infecting his entire criminal enterprise. So I'd love to know.
I mean, everything he's doing is you can tie directly to Jeffrey Epstein. Like, he was going through all this shit. He was trying to tear stuff down anyway. But when when Elmo came out and said Trump's in the Epstein files, that was the start of a long cascade. I mean, speaking of bubbles, this man is kept alive by ego, right? All he is a singular narcissistic personality type. And you take this, like, I forgot where I was going. What was that? I can't remember. Heidi is Heidi's muted, so I can't hear you, Heidi. She was trying to save you.
Oh yeah, no, I was just queuing you up because I asked how vulnerable you think he is because
Oh yeah.
obviously
So right, malignant. Yes. So right now, Epstein is driving the whole fucking thing. Sorry, I get too much bullshit in my head.
it's all
Epstein
good.
is the ego annihilation, is what Freud
Mm,
would call it, where it is a threat to his ego that isn't just like, you and I worry about things. It's
mm-hmm,
existential to him. So
mm,
here's the thing: none of that shit's coming out. Nothing with his name on it will come out of this government.
mm,
I'm just telling you right now. Like
mm,
any fantasy people have that, like,
mm,
oh, they're just like in 29 days, like Pam Bondi's gonna fucking release the Epstein files.
mm-mm.
Come on, man!
They're
Like
already
fucking give me a
playing. They're already playing the active investigation card. So, oh, we can't
Mm.
release some of it, and
no,
yeah,
it and there's a reason, because it's disgusting. Whatever the fuck is in there, like
Mhm,
he cannot have it come out.
mhm.
And so all of this, everything that you see is about him preventing that, or it's about rebuilding the image of himself that he wants people to have.
Right.
Right? That's why he's tearing down the East Wing, or tore down the East Wing. That's why he's like the gold and the shit that is in the white. Like, have you seen the presidential walk of fame and stuff with Joe Biden's auto pen and stuff? He's walking down the thing with the Saudi Arabian, like, bone saw fucking guy, right? Like like the all of that stuff is defense. It is
Yeah.
um his ego trying to literally like gild over all of this stuff. It's like he's trying to put his finger in the dike, right, of where all the leaks are, by painting it over.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's not going to go away.
No.
This is going to keep bothering him and keep I don't think Donald, I'm not sure how long this guy is going to be able to keep his psychology together enough to actually do any of these press events or whatever.
I don't know.
I'm not sure if and when that collapse is going to happen, but
For me, it's like the people
well,
around him, I don't know. We said this in the first regime. Like, how long do the people around him back this criminal? I know that many of them are criminals themselves, but how long do they back
well,
somebody who's calling for the assassination of other politicians, who's calling reporters piggy, who's lying about? I mean, what he said about Khashoggi was so shocking, even for Trump. Things happen, like such overt mob talk. I mean, I'm not a nerd to this stuff. You know, I'm not it's not like I'm like, running around outraged all day, but I'm not ever gonna feel that anything should be normalized. Like none of this is freaking normal. And it's just every day accelerating, every day grabbing the headlines, uh, you know, war over here, kill people in boats over here. And it's just like all of this to me seems obviously it has it smacks almost of a weird desperation too. So,
no, this is collapse. Like, and collapse is a process, right? It is not an event. Um, it is always a process, and he is in narcissistic collapse, and has been, since this happened, and it does not stop on its own. The only thing that stops it is an intervention, or if somehow the threat becomes magically cured. And the threat is never going to be magically cured, because he's in there thousands of times doing all kinds of shit. That's clear, right? And so it right now it's all effectively engineered collapse. And the reason why the people around him can't, I mean, they're all part of it,
Mhm.
right? They're all criminals too.
Yeah.
It's not, it's all part of one system, and the only reason that anyone is in their position at this point is because they, are willing to go along with anything, right? They asked Carolyn Levitt, what about Quiet Piggy? Well, she deserved it. What about killing people? Well, he was just pointing out like the there will never be a thing that stops them from doing it.
It's just crazy. Even
I think there may be something at some point that he does that makes some people start to leave, and that could turn into a anyway.
it's so interesting to me because I always think about, I used to back in the day doing news producing. One of the things that I interviewed people behind bars, and you gather people's stories, but the one consistent thing that criminals hated was pedophiles. And it's like, so you have these criminals that work with him and that hold, you know, cabinet jobs, but at some point, like either they are complicit in these types of crimes, or they gotta like, I don't know. How do they look at their kids? How do their kids look at them? Like backing this when again, you don't have to even look at what's coming out now. Go back to 2016 when both, Epstein and Trump were accused of raping a 13-year-old. It's like none of this is new. This is the other super frustrating thing. None of this is new. It's just maybe some of it's, starting to kind of leak into a broader consciousness, but we've known all these things about him for a very long time. The people who associated with Epstein knew he was a convicted sex offender. And some point you look around and you're like, oh, maybe it's because these people are complicit in these types of crimes. How else are you supposed to, view this? I don't understand unless, and again, Mike Johnson's past is very sketchy and the people in his orbit are very sketchy. So it doesn't surprise me at all.
I mean, it's it's nothing to joke about, but it's like they have Ronaldo in the White House. They have fucking Conor McGregor, right? It's like being a rapist is a requirement
Gosh,
of being
Duh.
in
gosh.
like Linda McMahon, the like incredibly the wrestling promoter.
So maybe
Secretary of
it's a
Education.
boon for all these people. Maybe Trump's president.
Yeah,
Boon. Um,
but her husband is a sadistic rapist, like who was sued by a woman who had like the stories are like crazy. This guy is
Bananas.
fucking sick. And Linda McMahon was like, "Well, you better pay her off, or we're gonna get divorced."
Mm.
So she's already fine. She's married to somebody who's like this, where sexual violence is not just acceptable
Oh,
but desirable. And this is the woman that they put in charge of our kids' education. So, you know, and again, like, so one thing I've been looking hard at is education, because what is education? Education is a form of binding, of complexity, of of all of us having a shared reality together, right? And part of the reason why they want to take education away, they want to destroy it, is because that shared reality is inconvenient for them. because they want to reorganize it into some fucking board system.
Wow.
Anyway.
No, this is so perfect, Jim. This is the perfect place to interview or to introduce the woman we interviewed, Tetiana Boriak. She's a Ukrainian historian. She comes from a family of historians and anthropologists. And 5 days into the full-scale invasion, she realized that the book she was writing about Stalin's man-made famine, where millions of Ukrainians were murdered in 1932 and 33, she realized that the Russians were killing them again. So 5 days in, she gathered her papers, told her husband and her family, I got to take the kids and I got to get out of here. The Russians are killing us again. And she realized again, all that she'd been studying from a century ago was literally happening all over. And she got a job working in Lithuania, and she continues to do incredibly brilliant work. And let's hear her first clip.
Probably a brief introduction. So the man-made famine, the Holodomor, which is translated as extermination with the famine, took place in the end of 1932, first half of 1933. These dates are not accidental because the year 1932 meant the end of the economic 5-year plan. And Stalin had to prove that his vision of the economic development was correct, because at that time he still did not possess the full power as we observe later in 1930s. So for him it was the question of like personal survival, and he got Ukraine that was occupied in 1921 with 1 million army, Russian army. The majority of the 85%, according to estimation of the Russian military general, were ethnic Russians. So 1 million army was thrown to conquer Ukraine. Why Ukraine? Because of the resources. And we have many quotations by Lenin, by other Bolshevik leaders, that they need Ukrainian grain, Ukrainian coal, Ukrainian sugar in order to survive, to rebuild the empire that was called the Soviet Union.
To rebuild the empire that was the Soviet Union. Who's
Right.
that sound like right now? I can't think of anyone currently that sounds like.
Really, really important to her to kind of finish off where she was going with that. One of the reasons we know anything about what happened during that period is because of reporters who actually got to Ukraine and reported on the famine, because you weren't going to read about it in the New York Times. We all probably know that story, but you have to realize that, like, right now, as we fight for reality and we fight for truth and we fight for freedom, we need reporters, we need historians, we need to still have access to truth. And it's chilling when you read her report. She was explaining how history is now a religion in Russia, and historians are no longer able to access archives. And for 20 years, they've just completely wiped the archives, and they tell a different history. They tell a different story. And again, because of the role that they played in World War II, anybody who questions anything about Stalin and the starving of Ukrainians is immediately called a Nazi, and it's quite a trick. But let's go ahead and hear her second clip.
It became very convenient for Stalin to blame everything that was tied to famine, people who mentioned the famine, some kind of memoirs about the famine. It was easy to blame them as Nazis. And see again, what do you hear now from Putin? That Ukrainians are Nazis just because they resist. They don't want this Ruski Mir now, the Russian world. They didn't want that communism and collectivization, collective farms and Russification back then, 90 years ago. Instrument is the same. You take the evil, then you attach it to your enemy, then you spread it, because Lithuanians are also called Nazis, as well as Estonians are accused of being Nazis, exactly because this nations were trying to stuck to their own identity, to their own nation and state building project. They did not want any invaders and occupants, whatever you might call them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, the Holodomor, I've studied a lot recently, and what um, uh, what Trump has been doing with Snap, and what they were have been doing with USAID. I mean, not to minimize the Holodomor, but there's another Holodomor, 50 million people that are going to die as a result of this regime's um, unnecessary and
Man-made famine. Man-made.
expensive man-made famine.
Yeah.
So these stories are very important, and in a similar way, it's hard to get the stories out of Africa. But an estimated 600,000 people have already died this year.
Yeah.
600,000 people have died this year already as a result of these people. And that is the sort of it's modeling that behavior, right? That
Yeah.
human life doesn't matter, that connection doesn't matter. That is the way that you collapse society, is by showing people that other human beings don't matter, that truth doesn't matter, that all of these things don't matter. And unfortunately, it is the oldest playbook there
It's
is.
just, yeah, no, you think about the juxtaposition of what you just said. First of all, what she said, how they take their evil and they attach it to other people. My God, have we been at for a decade with these people? But you think about all the hundreds of thousands of lives who were lost, and that's blood on Elon Musk's hands for sure. And then you think about the extravagance in the White House. And it is so grotesque. It's like, man, you talk about, again, history repeating. It is absolutely grotesque. And I'm glad you brought up Ronaldo. I didn't know that he hasn't been to America in 2017 because he was accused of raping a teacher. I didn't know that story. But it's like it all tracks. This is all about reputation washing and wanting to have people look at this and go, ooh, isn't this so amazing? When in fact, we are watching a criminal enterprise live on television. For those who have televisions, it's yeah, we've seen this before.
Yeah, I mean, it is psychopathy. It is unfortunately, again, like part of what you learn when you really look at the stuff like systems, and science is it is it will come back. There will be new forms of things for us to celebrate. This contraction of humanity and values and caring is something that has happened, over and over again through history. It is just a matter of how bad it is, while we go through it. And I think most importantly, what we build on the other side of it. And part of what my message is that we have to start thinking about things differently.
Yeah.
It's not, we're not going back.
Yeah.
We're not. I'm sorry,
Right.
but it's not going to be the same. If we try to go back to, if we try to do Biden 2, right? Oh,
Yeah.
we're going to bring all the norms back and we're going to try and reshape the institutions. Then I don't even know what happens. We just can't. What we
Well,
have to do is swing hard the other way. And I don't mean like lefty, everybody is going to be like, smoking weed and like, or whatever. But we have to really start to realize that humanity is a different animal now. Things have changed in 250 years. The Constitution and the ideas in it are absolutely beautiful things that we need to respect and work within. But all of that stuff has been twisted beyond recognition. This Supreme Court is not interpreting the Constitution. It's fucking twisting it into some weird Frankenstein that nobody recognizes because of specific weirdos and their specific beliefs that got installed there, right? That's just got to change. I don't know how exactly we're going to change it. There's plenty of ways. But we're not going to be able to just sit around for 30 years while these people destroy our country and take away our shit. That can't happen. And so we have to start thinking outside of these boxes here. We really do. Because they have been thinking outside of these boxes. They have been cheating and lying and brainwashing people for a fucking decade. And our solution to that cannot be like, oh, we don't like what you're doing. Like, it has to be, fuck you, man. Actually, we're like, fine. We're gonna like build this better so that your ass doesn't happen again. Like, we gotta get up in their face and change shit. Because the way it is allowed all of this to happen, and that can't.
Hell yeah! Snap.
Well,
snap.
let's be honest. Loopholes were exploited, crimes were committed. This didn't just happen, right? We've covered all this.
Fucking giant plan. These assholes have been conspiring for some of them for decades, but this particular group of fuck faces since 2015. For a decade now. These assholes they basically teamed up together and said, we're going to take this shit down. And they took a giant swing at it. And then we just pussyfooted our way back and like, oh no, wow, I can't believe they stole an election and then tried to steal another one and tried to hang the vice president. I guess we're going to do a fucking, a hearing about it right? Like, we did a fucking hearing and we put this mousy little fuck in front of, in charge of the DOJ, and we left Trump's asshole in charge of the FBI, and we just let it fucking slide backwards, and that was just a dumb mistake. To fucking like think different. Next time we gotta come out swinging.
Yeah. So two things. Yes. One of them is that the same people who operated, Trump into power have been same people that put Reagan in power in the 80s. Like, we got some really nefarious characters who've committed crimes and treason that we never dealt with. So yes, we are bad at dealing with treason. But also, you guys have been saying this for 4 years. It's no longer politics. There's an entire party that did not get the memo that this was no longer politics. We were dealing with a transnational criminal with a bunch of autocrats. Gesundheit, Jim. Where'd he go? There you are. So that's one thing. And then the other thing that I really think is very, very important as we look at the landscape right now is that we have laws that were built for a different era. They just never upgraded them. If they tried to, it was too little too late. And so that's the problem that I am seeing. And one thing I want to make sure we mention before we finish, because we have 2 more clips. Nathan Gill, former leader of Reform UK in Wales, he was sentenced to 10.5 years today for taking bribes from Putin cutouts and doing Russia work, and as a member of the EU Parliament. And my concern with this, and I'm just going to say it, is that it feels like a limited hangout to me. I've watched this guy's speeches. He seems kind of freaking dopey. And unless they're willing to go after all the people behind Brexit and see how that was, manipulated by Russia, and take a close look at Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson, etc., I fear that they're going to end up like us in just a few years, and it's going to be a malignancy that's harder to cut out. So, while I'm glad that, they prosecuted one guy, he's not the only guy. So, anyway, yeah. Thank you.
Can I need to point something out, because everybody's saying this, and I want to be very, very fucking specific when it comes to this. He only got 14 years. Yeah, 14 years. He was sentenced to 14 years. It was reduced by 35%, 3.5 years, because he pled guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And what he pled guilty to was taking Russian bribes. The bigger story is, why hasn't the UK Parliament done a thorough investigation into Russian influence? Because that would lead us to Cambridge Analytica. That would lead
That's
us
what
to
I'm talking about.
Steve Bannon.
Robert Mercer.
Robert Mercer.
Peter
And
Thiel.
we know Robert Mercer paid a $7 billion tax bill to avoid publicity about his financial transactions with Russia. I mean, we know these things have been going on, right? We know
after making 16 billion when Trump came in. So for him, it was still profit. So let's finish off with our clips though, because Hi-Fi, you say this shit, and I'm just getting re-triggered. Like, we have gone over this turf over and over and over again on the show. It's Russia. It's always been Russia. They weaponize everything. Yes, there's other countries involved, but this is something that they told us what they were going to do. They're doing it just like Project, 2020, whatever, 25, whatever it is. They told us what they're going to do, and they're doing it. So none of this should be surprising at all. And as Jim is saying, we need, to create some kind of beautiful chaos to stop these criminals from destroying the frickin' world. High Fidelity, clip 3.
Exactly, because the Russian state has identity crisis, and it's a kind of a locked circle, because if an empire starts learning history, it collapses. And I think that that Putin and company, they know this, and so they have, in order to survive as an empire, as this biggest state in the world in terms of territory, they have to keep control over historical narrative.
You heard that?
I mean,
who else does that sound like?
I'm blanking on Jason Stanley. His book. The name of his book is controlling those. What is it? Those who control the past to control
history.
Rewrite the past to control the future.
Right.
That's what she's talking about, and that's what they are trying to do right now. I mean,
right.
Don't send your kids to the CDC website, for example, because they will tell you that historically speaking, there's no proof that vaccines don't cause autism.
It's just, it's wild.
As somebody pointed out, it's also true that there are no studies proving that chicken nuggets don't cause autism because you can't. But there's hundreds of studies that say that there's no evidence of that whatsoever, which is scientific. Anyway, it's the same. It's the same exact thing, and it's
Yeah.
the same exact playbook to remove us from our collective. I mean, what are vaccines? They're collective binding together. It is actual sort of herd immunity that these assholes are always talking about. And what happens? You take that away, and you have a dissipated, fragmented, sick society that is much easier to capture.
Absolutely.
And historically, as it is with education, as it is with health.
And that's what
It's
they're trying
all
to
about unbinding us, disintegrating us.
removing our shared narrative of truth, which has been very effectively done in the last decade. High five, final clip.
They use culture, they use art, they use language, they use literature, they use sport, music, scientific events. They use it to have the agents, and there are a lot of now research about this network of agents that are revealed here or there. They are using allusions to the Second World War. The fact that they have won allows them do everything they want. The term Nazism that is attached to everything that is disagreeing with the Russian opinion. They use school education. They use militarization of education with these cadet classes, young army, youth army, movement of the first that indoctrinates the kids starting already from the kindergartens. It's not even school. They indoctrinate them with this imperial outlook. That means that they can do everything and do not have any punishment for this. This is the quintessence of their mentality, and they are trying to persuade the world that they have this right, that they have some special interests. They are using weaponry. Look at Ukraine, and they use lie to cover all this fake news that it's impossible now to dismantle it, because it's everything is just this invented. They want us to live in their invented realities, a reality where the great Russian state is defending the whole world from bad guys who are blamed as Nazis. They want us to live in this reality, and we must resist, because one day we might have the elections where young people who live in this reality thanks to social networks, they might vote for someone who will bring the war to their home. Would it be war with weaponry or invisible war against their identity, their language, their codes, their cultures?
Nailed it.
I feel after, like, I was there for that interview, and I feel like I was attending a lecture by a Harvard professor, which technically I was. And I got to ask questions.
Well, I mean, she's describing the United States, right? I mean, like, other than we don't have drones yet, but we do have fucking ice.
What do you mean we don't have drones yet? We got Anduril.
Well,
Wow.
I mean, on American streets, we have widespread, deliberate violence against the population.
Yeah.
And that has almost nothing to do with immigration and everything about control.
Fear.
And
Yeah.
how did we end up? How did we end up with DHS and ICE? When were they created?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
post 9/11. So can
Post
I just say,
9/11, and what do we know about Saudi Arabia in 9/11?
yeah.
yeah, I know. So one thing I want to say, first of all, yes, Hi-Fi, I'm having her come back to my Substack community to teach us about the Holodomor and teach us about the executed Renaissance when Stalin executed Ukrainian poets and playwrights, philosophers, etc. Again, all about controlling truth. And I think it's really important that we understand these hidden parts of history that we just never learned about because people who tried to talk about these things were actually murdered under Stalin, and Russia certainly isn't teaching their citizens about it.
Also, read Anne Applebaum's book.
Yes, right.
Which is about this period as well.
Thank you. And so what, because Timothy Snyder is where I learned so much about this period from, and he will tell you, ask a Ukrainian. So we actually are able to ask a Ukrainian historian, which feels very, very valuable. But something she said that I want to share with you guys, please watch episode 154, please. She said, Ukrainians aren't perfect, and we acknowledge our past and we look at where we failed. And, she gave the Afghan war as an example where Ukrainians had to participate, but she said we were under occupation at the time. So now they erect statues to those who resisted, Stalin during the famine. And she said, what do you have in Russia? They're erecting statues to the perpetrators. So doesn't that mean that the government then are perpetrators? And I thought about that. I thought, how close are we to erecting statues to perpetrators? Well, we already have, streets named after, racists. I don't want to go into that. We're already seeing what Trump's doing. And doesn't that then make him a perpetrator? Absolutely.
I mean, at least temporarily, the Coast Guard decided that swastikas weren't a hate symbol.
Or nooses, which is
But-
even
but I-
more troubling given their history.
I understand. It's the same. It's the same idea.
Yeah.
It is the flattening out
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
meaning,
Yeah.
and the erasure of history as a guidepost.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. So doesn't that make them perpetrators? Absolutely. Okay, so gentlemen, that's our show. Thank you guys for staying with us a little bit late. And Hi-Fi, final thoughts, final word, anything you got for us?
So final thoughts is, hey, you guys, I don't know if you've noticed, but Russia has weaponized religion, billionaires, technology, the media, technology companies. It's not that hard to wrap your mind around when you think about it. That's just, one little thought I've had. But I want to give the last word tonight to a couple kids from the Netherlands singing a song about my home state. And it's a little bit long, but you'll like it.
Sorry that I could never love you back. I could never care enough in these last days. Her tears fell on a page just found me well. On the words I don't know what to do or say. Wading through warm canals and pools, clear blue, the Tuscarawas flows out through the Great Lakes. Riding back where the highwaymen dead and tracks. The ground is now cement and glass and far away. Heal her soul, carry her, my angel. Oh, green, green, green. What about the sweetness we knew? What about what's good, what's true from those days? Can't count to all the lovers I burned through. So why do I still burn for you? I can't say. Sorry that I could never love you back. I could never care enough in these last days. Heal her soul, carry her, my angel. Oh, children blush and gather round the home she rests, so poor and gold with their Midwest, the moon and sun. Flashes bringing on my open eyes, the lightning storm. The touch of mist felt soft, felt warm on my face. Gray vague dreams, a million miles ago you seem, and the star that I just don't see anymore. Words long gone, lost on journeys we walked on, lost our voices heard along the way. Saw